All right, welcome to the College Game Day pod. I am not Reese Davis. Clearly.
Often mistaken.
On
the streets of suburban Detroit. People are like, Reese?
I wish I could be so handsome.
Reese is always very confident in his hair.
Very calm. I have good hair.
Yeah.
Not as good as his.
He's got good hair. He's got good hair.
I am Dan Wetzel, senior writer at ESPN. That was the voice of Pete Thamel. All things college football, ESPN. I will do my best to shepherd us through the next hour with elegance and smoothness that Reese would provide, but he is on assignment currently, doing more important things than this.
Can you just say welcome to the pod?
Welcome to the pod. Well, I kind of did. I threw College Game Day in the middle there. Welcome to the pod. Quick reminder, though, please download this podcast wherever you prefer to get your podcast, or better yet, just subscribe. You never miss a single issue or episode, I guess it would be, of whatever is coming up there. So far, not as smooth as Reese. Chances of me pulling this off about as good as the 16th pick of a preseason poll winning the league, right, Pete?
Dan, we didn't put you in the poll. We everybody gets a trophy here on the Game Day podcast. We didn't want to rank you anywhere. So
Thank you.
Just like in the Big 12.
Thank you. Yes, the Big 12. After Arizona State goes from 16th preseason to winning the league and almost winning a playoff game, the Big 12 banished its preseason poll because, kind of smartly, it may have impacted, which it shouldn't, but it may have, human nature being human nature, how Arizona State was considered in the college football playoff rankings. Mm-hmm. And so they have gotten rid of the poll, which I thought was probably a smart move. These are the things you have to do in the system. Makes great sense that this would happen. I know the Kansas City Chiefs are really worried about someone's power rankings right now in the NFL. It's a big concern.
I don't think banishing the poll is a very good idea, if I'm being honest. I just don't think it's good. It worked out for Arizona State. Like you will eventually play enough games to get to where you need to go. So I think that was like classic conference office overthinking. That's just I don't even think the coaches cared that much. Somebody's gonna finish first, somebody's gonna finish last.
They like getting picked last, don't they? That's what I always thought.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's against us, and it made the Arizona State storyline even better last year.
It was a great season. Well, they believe that this will help them get two teams in the playoff this year, which is Commissioner Brett Yormark's goal, and it would be quite important for the Big 12. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any question. This is an extremely deep league. I don't know if it's the deepest, but it might be. It's the most fun league in terms of who the heck knows what's going to go on.
Amen.
Every game has a 2.5 point spread. Every game.
Yes.
That's the rule.
Yes. And they all go to the last possession.
I'll go last possession. It is up. But so we're not going to adhere to the Big 12. Dear leaders at the Big 12, we will not get this edict. This is America, man. We can do what we want, including having a poll of our own, Pete.
Let's go.
Abbreviated one, because trying to go through all 16 teams would immediately end the podcast. Your league's too big. But we can do this. I say we do who wins.
Got it.
Who's the sleeper.
Got it.
And who's coming in last.
All right.
How's that?
That's good. We want to make sure someone comes in last, because they will in the standings, I promise.
Somebody will come in last in the standings. Who do you got winning this thing, Pete?
I'm going to take Utah, Dan.
That's my sleeper.
Oh, well, I mean, can Utah be a sleeper? Okay, that's fine. The case for Utah is, I think, very simple. They were just decimated with quarterback injuries last year. They only won 2 league games after, I believe, being picked first. And they bring in a new scheme, an updated scheme there was needed. They bring in Jason Beck from New Mexico. Devin Dampierre ran for over 1,000 yards last year at New Mexico, first team All-Mountain West. They will have a significant element of quarterback run in their game. But the case for Utah is where it's always rooted. The left tackle, Caleb Lomu, and the right tackle, Spencer Fano, are both projected first-round picks. Kyle Whittingham was unabashed saying they're the best tackles in the country. All of our the Jordan Reeds of the world and Matt Millers have them as both 2 of the top 5 tackles in the country. So I just think, and then they have 3 senior interior returning starters. So Utah is going to do what Utah has done: smash you in the face. They're just going to have a little more dynamism behind it. I don't think they have some of the maybe big, sexy names on the defense and the D line like they have in the past. But I think Utah, which played very good defense, even though they weren't good last year, they have the credibility, Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley, to figure it out. So I think the Utes return to being the Utes and smash their way to the Big 12 title.
Yeah, I really like them because, I mean, Whittingham's running around saying this is the best offensive line I've ever had. Okay, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
And then you get Dampierre's a great athlete. Like, this is going to be a very dangerous team. And Kyle Whittingham, I think, is considering retirement here. I don't think that's a big secret. And might have retired last year had it gone differently. And he is that is a proud man who did not want to go out like that, and I don't think he's going to go out like that. So I will take it. I'm gonna go with Arizona State. I think they're not only do you have Sam Leavitt at quarterback, a lot of returning players. There's just great momentum there. And these are hard to pick. It's always hard to pick these things, but with the transfer portal, it's just who knows, right? That kid, some kid comes in from northern Colorado or something. He's going to catch, receive 1,000 yards. You don't know. You have no idea who these guys are. So, but Kenny Dillingham is building a program. I remember being out there with him before his first game, that first summer, and the momentum of trying to build a long-term program there is I just think they're going to continue to make jumps each year in all of the guys that aren't maybe stars, but just up and coming. The recruiting's been really good the last couple of years, and I think that's going to pay off. So I'm going to take Arizona State. How about a sleeper?
So I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I am a big fan of their quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, and we can talk about Big 12 quarterbacks maybe a little later, but there's like a half a dozen, 6 or 7 guys who the NFL already has tabbed as draft picks, and Sorsby is a guy that the NFL people really sneaky like. Now, Cincinnati lost its last 5 games last year, and Scott Satterfield had one of those like kind of fun moments of like being a little too honest at media day when he was talking to us. He was basically like, our best receiver last year ran a 4.79 in his pre-draft stuff. He's like, he was horribly slow, and he said we just couldn't get open the last half of the season. They went out, they got an interesting guy, Dan, named Jeff Caldwell, a wide receiver from Lindenwood. He is 6'5", 220 pounds, and basically was like 5'8" as a senior in high school. And he is like the classic. In my sleeper, I will give you a sleeper that Jeff Caldwell, if he is a third of what they're saying he has been since arriving there from Lindenwood, and this is exactly what you were talking about, the guy from Northern Colorado. Yeah. I think he's going to fly. They have Cyrus Allen, who was at Texas A&M last year at receiver. They basically were like, we were a good receiver set away from being a 10-win team. So I think Cincinnati figures it out. They just opened a brand new facility there. Like they're finally feeling like a Big 12 team. Like the adjustment period is over. They opened in a really interesting game at Arrowhead against Nebraska. A lot of eyes will be on Dylan Raiola in that game, but I really think that's an opportunity for Brendan Sorsby to announce himself to the country. So I'm going with the Bearcats.
Not bad. I'm going to go with Iowa State.
Sure.
Rock solid, Matt Campbell program. Year in, year out there. They got Rocco Becht back. Love this guy. Like just the ultimate Iowa State kind of player. Yeah. Solid program. Start the season with Farmageddon in Dublin. One of the greatest ideas anyone ever came up with.
We asked Chris Kleiman about if the bartenders in Dublin were ready, if they were like really ready. And he was basically like, if anyone's going to be ready, it's going to be a Dublin bartender. And I said, that's fair.
People have been trying to drink Dublin dry for about 1,000 years. It ain't going to happen. But what are they going to bring Busch Light on to the taps?
Question.
Temple Bar. What is going to happen there? I don't know. That's the real question of how that's going to go. Putting Farmageddon in Dublin was one of the greatest ideas. Just fantastic. Yeah. Actually, what I really like is it's a rivalry game.
Oh, yeah. Fourth longest running rivalry, long standing. I didn't realize that. Somebody, I heard that on a podcast last week, prepping for Media Day. That's a lot of games. You know what I mean? Like, that's a century of history. Yeah. The fourth longest continuous running rivalry. Whatever marketing genius had McAfee in his pub last year before that guy should get all the Busch Light and win the American audience 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Kansas State, Iowa State. Those fans known to like their less off premium lagers,
What's
pilsners,
the Iowa
whatever.
State blog? Wide right Natty Light.
Your wide right natty light. Yeah, that's I'm sure they will be there. They'll be posted up. Get all your coverage from wide right natty light. All right, last place. We got to be mean. I mean, that's the whole point of college football, right? Who you got going last?
I'm going to take Oklahoma State last because I just have no idea. Now, look, like, would it surprise us if Mike Gundy's in like the Big 12 title? No, but like right now, they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback who I believe has thrown a forward pass in a college game. They have one returning starter on offense, a tight end. They have 10 new coaches, Dan. Like, so the entire thing is
transfer portal.
They got 50, 60. Yeah, no, in the coach portal. I've never seen or heard that before. So look, Mike Gundy usually gets the benefit of the doubt because he has 2 decades of really good work there. But I look at that and I'm like, I don't see it. So prove me wrong, magnificent mullet. But I think they're in and it could get hairy there this year if we're being honest, right? Like, I mean, you don't cut your coach's salary and then lower his buyout because you're like want him to be there 5 more years, right? Like I always say, follow the contracts. The contracts tell you the way. And when they put you in jail contractually and cut your salary to pay more players, like it says, like you better win. So I just think that will be fascinating. Mike Gundy has been slow to evolve and embrace modern college football. He even said, like, I don't get involved in the money talk, the salary talk at Big 12 Media Day. So he has pulled a few rabbits out of his mullet before. So we're not going to fully doubt him, but he is fully in the crosshairs.
Oh, yeah. 21st season. 33-9 last year. Worst season he's had in Stillwater.
Winless in the league, I believe.
Yeah. And, for most of this tenure, good, if not great. But the greats have been sputtering out a little bit late, so definitely some pressure. I hope not. I hope he bounces back. I feel college football is just a better place when that mullet is flapping in the Stillwater air, when the wind comes sweeping down the plains. We know Gundy's out there protecting us. So I'm hoping his plethora of new players and new coaches and guys that have never thrown a pass. Don't worry. I think he's got this.
There's no Mike Gundys in the NFL. Mike Gundy is what makes college football great, right? There's no like, oh yeah, that wacky, quirky guy in Jacksonville, right? That just doesn't, who's been there 2 decades and wins in a variety. It's just no. Like,
no, we do not need that at all. We got to have them. Last place, I'm gonna go. Man, so this could be a good thing, right? I'm gonna go Arizona. I don't know what this team has. Again, a lot of change. Brent Brennan, sorry, coming in.
Pick him in last and get his name wrong, Dan. You're really going to win some fans at
maybe they'll fire Brett Brennan instead of Brent. That's a lot of N's for me. Like I said, this is not Reese Davis. I've just mispronounced Brent. How's that? That's good. That's really good. Brent Brennan, second year coming in after Jed Fish, it just didn't come together last year. Didn't get going, and we'll see where they're at this year. I don't know. I look at this, and again, these are hard to pick.
Oh
man, these are hard to pick. Yeah. So sorry, Wildcats, but we have to be negative here. It's in some way, so we will pick them. You were in Frisco, Texas. This week, big topic that was discussed was Texas Tech. Obviously, they could have been picked in here. They're recruiting. They just landed Felix Ojo, a 5-star offensive lineman from Mansfield, Texas, on a deal that is worth some told millions, somewhere between 2.3 and 5.1, depending on what you want to trust. Has caused a lot of tumult across college football. Not just because Texas Tech got a great player that would have otherwise gone to Texas or Ohio State or Alabama or Michigan or something like that. But there's a lot of talk at Big 12 Media Day about how are we using NIL, what is going on with this clearinghouse, how are you using rev share. I think it's great when players like Ojo pick a school such as Texas Tech. I've said from the start, bringing money above the table here allows places like Texas Tech to, and really everyone in the Big 12 to allocate their resources how they wish and maybe overbid for certain talent. There's a really good chance Texas Tech's going to get the number one recruit next year, defensive edge rusher out of Georgia, out of Savannah. So they're putting their money on certain players. Joey McGuire trying to juice up the program and all that. What was the discussion out there about Texas Tech, both front of the microphone and maybe in the whispers of other coaches?
Um, I would say in front of the microphone, their spending has been so overt that there's some pressure, Dan. Like Joey McGuire didn't flinch from like, look, we got to get to the Big 12 championship. That was kind of the theme that he said. When you are invested as they are, and you see the numbers being thrown around, 40 million or whatever. You need to produce, and it's an interesting part of this new era. This isn't just 85 scholarships. You will be judged on how you spend and if the victories follow that spending line. So Texas Tech was clearly on the front end of the front loading, right? And that has just created this really interesting window bubble for the next year or two in college athletics for everyone who did jump ahead, and they have significant upgrades all over their roster. They got the best defensive player from Stanford who went in the portal, the defensive end. They went out and went head to head and bid with the best teams in the country. And I'm not gonna say there's a target on Joey McGuire's back or anything, but like it did not go unnoticed in the Big 12 that they were spending on a different plane.
It's the wild, wild west, Pete. It's the wild, wild west, which does well in Lubbock. Lubbock is the wild, wild
Yes,
west.
it actually is. That's very fair.
So why would we not embrace this?
Very fair.
Yeah, they spent a ton on the portal. Now, this was a unique year because these old school NIL deals where you could just pay a guy $1 million for one Instagram post are over, but you could front load that until I guess July 1 or whatever date it officially was. So you could front load a lot of these deals, and now you're coming in, but they are going to utilize this rev share at least partially on recruiting, as will everyone else. And this is what to me is really interesting in the impact of rev share. Each school has 20 million bucks, roughly 20.5 to spend on their players. Most will spend about 15 million on football. You can allocate that any way you want. You get 15 million bucks and get one guy. Wouldn't be the best way to build a team,
Probably
but
not.
the ability of schools to say, I'm going to give 1.3 million. I'm going to put 1.5 on this 5-star, where a Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State that used to get all those 5-stars may not say, look, I got to sign 20 really good players. We're trying to win it all, and that's the way to win. You'd rather have 24 stars than one 5-star and a bunch of 3-stars, right? But you're not getting 24 stars at Texas Tech, at TCU, at Houston, or Houston's got a great quarterback coming in, different stuff like that. So they can pluck away top talent from the major programs. And I think it's going to be a thing that is going to have to continue to adjust for the Alabamas, Georgias, and how are you going to utilize this? Those schools are still going to get the most good players, but they aren't getting as many of the elite players as they were 6, 8, 10 years ago when, Nick Saban would grab 14 top 100 players and have, a roster with 25 5-stars. Those days are over because each guy's getting, it's not that Texas Tech will one day beat Alabama, but it weakens Alabama a little bit when they aren't just all loading up with these top guys. These guys are going all over the place.
So one thing that's interesting to me about Ojo, and you think about this, so Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, fill in the blank, blue blood, right? They are not going to start a freshman at left tackle. How many starting freshmen left tackle? Like that's a once every 5-year kind of thing. Felix Ojo is good. He is not Orlando Pace. Okay. So is it smart of Felix Ojo to go to a place where maybe he can see the field right away? Because look, you get better at football by playing football. And if he is physically ready to go play football in the Big 12, I just wonder if we start to see this a little more, Dan, where guys really have a linear focus on playing time. because you don't get better without playing, and you don't improve your value in your stock without playing. So I wonder if that becomes a little bit more apparent with some of these big recruits. It's like, oh, and I'm not saying they're going to go to Saginaw State, right? But
Right.
do you start at a tick lower level? It's still a very good program, but look, there's going to be real grown men at those blue bloods because they need to be. That's how you go win. And so I just wonder if that's part of the calculus here.
We take Jordan Seaton, right? At
Yeah, Jordan
Colorado.
Seaton did go play right away at Colorado. Now, Colorado's offensive line was historically bad the
No,
year
but it's a
before.
Big 12. What you're
Yes, yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Would
No, yeah,
Jordan Seaton
exactly.
have
Yep.
started last year? Might have at Ohio State. But at, I don't know, whatever. Somewhere who had a great offensive line.
Yeah.
Maybe
No, that's
not.
a good point. Yeah.
So what is the workout? There's different ways, particularly quarterback.
Yes.
Quarterbacks have always lined up. I mean, I used to say like every 5-star went through Ohio State for a while there.
Yeah.
They'd
Sure.
have like 6 guys up there, and you're like, okay, they're all transferring out. At what point do you just sit there and say, hey, this is enough? Not only because
Yeah.
I'm going to see the field, but I'm also going to get an extra few $100,000. And I don't know whether I'll be a great player or not.
Hmm.
So it's going to change the dynamic of this stuff. And I like it. I know people wring their hands. Everything recruiting with these days is negative, but I like seeing good players go elsewhere. I said Houston's got a great quarterback, and Syracuse just picked up a commitment from a 5-star wide receiver from Miami. You went to Syracuse, Pete. When was the last time that happened?
They said there were 2 other 5 stars in history, and I do not recall them.
You're right. I mean, just
Might have been
but
like Paul Pasqualoni wedged a guy out of New Jersey or something like
yeah,
that,
right, right.
back in the day. But no, because even Donovan McNabb was like an overlooked recruit. They've had great players there. Dwight Freeney was a great player. Donovan Darius, Keith Bullock, first round pick, top 50 pick type guys, but they were not like that was a developmental program. So yeah, that was pretty shocking. That was pretty shocking to me that a 5-star receiver out of South Florida picked Syracuse over Michigan.
Yeah,
Calvin Russell.
you can't count on the great Rini and Golias to come along every day out of
Yes.
Rochester, New York, our colleague here at ESPN.
Yes.
Great
Minuteman. Yeah.
Great Minuteman. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I hear all the hand wringing, but I think it's great for college football. I think it creates more parity. When teams aren't, I always go back to that Alabama played Notre Dame in a one of those playoff games, and Alabama had 22 5-stars and Notre Dame had 2.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like 22 first-round picks on an NFL team against 2.
Yeah. We don't root for specific teams here, but I like the sport being vibrant and healthy coast to coast, right? You want teams to rise, teams to fall, teams like Arizona State's the perfect example. Like without the portal era, I don't even know if it was NIL very much last year for them. Sam Levitt was he was walking through when he left Michigan State, what options he had. He had good options. He was a good quarterback. People liked him, but it wasn't like Sam Levitt was this no-brainer 5-star kind of guy. The tailback was from Sac State, Cam Scatabo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he ran the same 40 as you did, I think, at the combine, Dan. So you've got to there is still something to kind of you need a galvanized, energized team going in the right direction. That still exists in college, even with the talent going around. But I like that Texas Tech could flash this year. There's just going to be different places, different teams that are going to pop their head up. Indiana last year is a great example, right? And that's what makes the sport great is you just don't know where the heartbeat of it is going to be every week.
And hey, why shouldn't Texas Tech get great players? Why shouldn't great players want to play at Texas Tech? There's nothing inherently wrong with Texas Tech. It's a great place to go to school. The campus is beautiful. They got great facilities, great coaches, great fans. Everyone's fired up. The only thing that's held them back through the years, or one of the only things, is that Lubbock's distance from players. It's just it's a distance. It's 6 hours from Dallas, but you pay money in any business will get people to overcome geography. If someone gives you a big enough raise, you move your family. That's how it is. So this gives the ability for schools to overcome historic deficiencies, perceptions and geography, and I think it makes the sport all around better. So I am all in favor of these kind of moves by these schools. It also brings the great teams a little bit back to the pack, and so I think we're just going to have a more exciting college football, and that's why Yormark was smart. Brett Yormark saying, "Look, we want a 5-11 playoff plan. We don't want this 4 for the Big Ten and 4 for the SEC. We're only a 2-bid league. We don't know how it's going to be in 5 or 8 years. You don't know
So do
that."
you genuinely believe that enforcement will be enough to kind of put everybody on and it's never going to be equal, but do you genuinely believe in this system enough where the talent will get spread out and it will kind of keep the country vibrant?
I don't think enforcement will be really good, but it'll be enough that'll curb it a little. You're not going to be able to have a $60 million roster maybe or something like that when someone, but Texas Tech, or I'm not saying they're going to violate the rules, or any school out there, there's money in a lot of places.
But I do hope we get another Indiana and we get another Arizona State, but we also have Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. All the balance of blue blood and new blood. I think is the chemistry that makes the sport interesting and exciting. And I hope that, again, this isn't going to be the NFL where it's like down to the last dime, and I'm not naive to that, but Wake Forest having the same amount of rev share to spend as Oregon, right? Now they don't have Phil Knight, so they're not going to have built-in advantages. I think that's just promising for the long-term health of the sport. I just don't know how equal it's really going to be.
I would never say it's going to be equal, but it's going to be more equal, I guess, is really all I'm going for. I think the sport's in better shape today than it was. I hear all the complaints.
Yeah,
college football coaches love to complain, but I think it's better. We just, like I just said, we had semifinal games that were just total mismatches. And in recent years, Notre Dame
every year the semis stunk.
Michigan won a title. They were not winning titles for a generation. Notre Dame competed for a title. TCU made the finals. Like, it's different stuff going on. It's better. Is it all 134 teams have a chance? Of course not. Is it 50? No. But is it 15? Yeah, it's better than we were. So
I think we're at 136 now, Dan.
Oh, 136.
I believe Delaware and Missouri State have joined the fray. So welcome to the Bears and the Blue Hens.
Deion Sanders, you got to sit down and talk with Coach Prime. How's he doing? He's been out of work. He's been down in Texas, but he also talked about his not having to coach his children anymore, which he was happy with.
Yeah, so he has an unspecified health issue that's kept him out of Boulder for a couple of weeks. He is headed back there in a week or two and says he is back. He's like, I'm at media day. I'm here. No one is really certain what was wrong with Deion. We obviously wish him the best and want him back. Talk about helping college football stay vibrant. I mean, certainly Deion has been an adrenaline jolt to the sport and certainly to that program, which had just been dreadful for 15 years prior to his arrival. And they certainly were not interesting. There was just nothing interesting. The only thing interesting before Deion got to Colorado, Dan, was when Dan Hawkins went on that intramurals rant. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. I do.
Big 12. Yeah. This is an intramurals? Yeah, that was about it. That was about all.
Coach, I got to go skiing, man. I got Breckenridge got 8 inches of powder right now.
The John Embry era, not memorable. Yeah, there was some pretty Mel Tucker one and done them. Yeah, they had some. It was just a pretty sleepy place. So Deion is, again, to see him in Frisco in the Star in this little Jerry world, and to see people, it's amazing. Like, to compare the crowd around him to Matt Campbell or something like that. It's just like Deion is just this sensation. It's a really fascinating thing. He seems good. He said he's good. So they're going to be really interesting this year, Dan. They have Julian Juju Lewis, who would have been the #1 quarterback recruit in the current senior high school class. He reclassed, went early, and he is going to compete for the starting job with Caden Salter, who's a former Tennessee recruit who is excellent at Liberty. I believe his record as a starter at Liberty. One moment, please. Where are you, Caden? 23-6. So Caden Salter's dual threat quarterback. Will give them some experience there. So Deion talked a little bit about not having his sons Shiloh and Shador on the roster anymore. And basically he said, now I don't have to do two jobs. I don't have to be dad and coach. I only have to do one job. So it will be an interesting year there. He feels better about their overall talent. You mentioned Jordan Seaton earlier. He was at media day. He's a big, sequoia of a left tackle. They've upgraded there clearly. They open with Georgia Tech. Fascinating opener. My eyes are biased from watching Georgia Tech take the life out of the game in Dublin last year, beating Florida State, which at the time seemed pretty revelatory. In retrospect, seemed pretty predictable. It will not be boring with Coach Prime.
Mine is with Georgia Tech taking Georgia to the wire. In the end, they're on the rise. Yeah, I always thought this. I thought his answer to you about I don't want to have to look at Shiloh and Shador as dad. I thought that was a great answer by him. It was a great question. It was a very fun little segment on your interview with him. But there was all this talk. Oh, he's going to go to the NFL because he wants to coach his sons. Like, I think most people, by the time their kid's 22, they're like, get away. Like, I need enough. Like, all my players are sons, but I really don't want to have to know where you are at 24 hours. Like, I don't want to monitor you. And so I thought that was a great answer. He may miss Shador on, third down, third and long.
Certainly going to miss Travis on both sides.
I didn't hear him say that. I didn't hear him say that. Now, Travis also causes no problems.
Yes.
Travis was like, where are you? I'm either playing football, fishing, or hanging out with my girlfriend. That was it.
Yeah.
That was Travis. So Travis Hunter was the ideal player in all ways.
Where are you was on the field. Like, the guy played 95 snaps a game. It was like, I don't know if it was appreciated enough just how unprecedented and elite Travis Hunter was.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not going to, I'll be interested to see, can they be bowl eligible? Can they be that? Where is Colorado program? But look, it's a more fun sport with Coach Prime going well. All right. So interesting one, little comment, little spice got thrown in by Scott Frost, the once again Central Florida coach, UCF coach. If you recall, Scott Frost won the national title as a quarterback at Nebraska in 1997. He's from a little Wood River, Nebraska, population 1,000, one of these great college football kind of stories. And he eventually got his first coaching job at UCF, took over an 0-12 program. 2 years later, they go 13-0. They declare themselves national champs, as they should. Why not? And then he takes the job at Nebraska, his alma mater, and there is just incredible fanfare. Like that, they were so excited. It was better than knee high on the 4th of July with the cords coming in. They were just fired up out there, and he promptly goes 16-31, 10-26 in the Big Ten. There was just nothing. Like, I don't remember even like some victory where everyone's like, okay, here we go. It just never got going. Anyway, he talked to The Athletic before media day, and he said, they asked him what he learned at Nebraska. He said, don't take the wrong job. He said, I said I wouldn't leave unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater and didn't really want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier. This went over in Lincoln, not well. Well.
On, July 8th. Lincoln is not exactly a lot of like sports radio fodder.
No,
on July 8th in Lincoln. It was interesting. Scott Frost generally is kind of a dour guy, right? Like, that's kind of his cadence and the vibe he gives off. And it presents an interesting referendum. So when we talked to Scott Frost before those comments went public, he was very much like UCF in 20 years could be every bit of like a blue blood. He like believes in that play. You ever been there, Dan?
I have. Yeah. I have.
You ever been to a game at the Bounce House?
I have not been to the Bounce House for a game, but it's got potential. It's got 50,000 students. They're going to have like 4 million alum eventually.
Yeah.
It's just a young school.
Yeah. The first time I walked on campus there and I looked around and then I went to a game, I was like, yeah, like this could happen. Like, there's not, you see it and you believe it. So he was really bullish because of proximity to talent, the new era, and everything on what UCF could go be and become. And it is a fascinating juxtaposition because Nebraska is the quintessential old school job, right? Dominated the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Used the brand and leveraged the brand, a unique offense, Hall of Fame coach to become one of the elite programs in college football. But there's no local talent, right? Like it's like what Nebraska has UCF doesn't. What everything UCF has, Nebraska doesn't. So I think it's an interesting juxtaposition. Was it wise of Scott Frost to say that out loud? Probably not.
He's a legend there from Wood River, and he won the national title. That's what was amazing. Is he saying Nebraska can't win a national title? Is that what? Can I spin this recklessly out and have him say that Scott Frost, what he meant was Nebraska will never be good again? No, I didn't even say that. But is that what he's saying?
I think Nebraska can win a national title.
I think they can. I don't think many can. I think that's my only hesitation, is there probably isn't more than 10 schools that can win it. But they can try. They can be really good.
Yeah, they could certainly be a playoff team.
It wasn't Nebraska holding Scott Frost back. It was Scott Frost holding Nebraska back. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of where it was. They lost untold one-score games. They had terrible special teams. You know what I mean? There was some culpability there. Look, we all look at ourselves, Dan. We all remember ourselves and frame ourselves from our best moment, not our worst, right? So Scott Frost sees himself as the coach of undefeated UCF. Remember the national champions? Oh, if we only had a podcast then, right?
Right.
And so he sees himself as the undefeated, coach on the rocket ship, and Nebraska derailed the rocket ship. That is the prism through which those comments would make us think. And then America sees Scott Frost. Remember that dreadful game in Dublin when they played Northwestern? It was like the worst football game played in history. I believe it was Pat Fitzgerald's last win as a head coach.
That's right. They went because they only won one that year.
They won one. They were winless in America. And then he got he got fired. So yes, it was they were just that to me was the game of the Scott Frost era that was just like, whoa. And he got fired like 2 weeks later. Do you remember that? It was like a mid-September fire.
1 and 2, yeah. He got that 5th year. Nebraska is just a fascinating program because
yes.
Now, when you talk about NIL and you talk about real NIL, as they like to talk about, the Nebraska quarterback every year is arguably the most famous person in Nebraska.
Easily.
The biggest sporting star in a state and a state that cares deeply. Yeah. And, they do so you can get that kind of dough and they care. They just can't overcome the talent differential the proximity to talent. Yeah. So what I think what Scott Frost is saying is a school like UCF can build fans and get the money eventually in 20 years, as you're saying, that Nebraska currently has. Nebraska cannot uproot its campus and move it to the middle of Florida. Or maybe they can. Maybe they have that much money. University of Nebraska, not. Orlando would be
University of Nebraska, Orlando edge rushers.
That's right. We'll see where this sport is into it. We're going to some weird spots.
Forget satellite campuses. Remember when satellite camps was like the big rage?
Yeah, that was what was going to change everything. Remember how mad they got at Harbaugh about that?
Oh, everybody got so mad about all the satellite camps.
Didn't do one thing.
Yeah.
No, didn't do one thing.
That seems novel, the times when satellite camps were like the big raging story of the
cheating. He's down there talking to our 2 stars.
With his shirt off.
With his shirt off in Prattville, Alabama, getting sun cancer. Yeah. If we get Harbaugh back, can we get Urban back? I need all these guys. I need the characters. I need them back. Anyway, that's the bit. I don't know. But anyway, anytime you got a Nebraska legend kind of throwing some shade on Nebraska, we got some good stuff. All right. Any other little tidbit from the Big 12?
One thing that stood out was Kyle Whittingham was pretty blunt about like retirement. You hinted at it earlier. He was kind of like, if we won the championship, and he meant the Big 12 championship, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I might not be here right now. So he's obviously a legendary Hall of Fame coach, kind of seamlessly took that program from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, which is a hard thing to do. And, so we could be, if you read through his comments, and he did not specifically say this, but I'm intimating from what he said, we could be looking at his last season. So I think that as Big 12 stories go, Dan, that's fairly significant that, Kyle Whittingham, who's just sort of been this like rock of consistency until last year, we could be looking at his final go. Yeah.
One of my favorite stats is between his whole family. The Whittinghams have been involved in like 76% of all the Utah BYU games. So
Wow.
some crazy stats, something like that. I'm going to get the
Yeah.
math wrong, but so the idea of him, I assume there's other Whittinghams in the tree that'll keep that going, but we'll see. Played at BYU, could have had the BYU or the Utah job, chose Utah. And
Yeah.
he's certainly done an incredible job. All right, speaking of big stories, this is the gripping story of in the SEC right now as we head closer to SEC Media Days. This will be a big topic. Pete, is Hugh Freeze playing too much golf?
Lane Kiffin thinks so, Dan.
Yeah,
that is
no, he's congratulating him, actually. For everyone else who's not, it just means more. A big controversy has broken out in the SEC. Involving Hugh Freeze away from the office. Fortunately, it's at a golf course or many golf courses. Hugh is so there's a thing in golf. If you're not a golfer, this thing called GIN, where GHIN, where you put your scores in. You have to register every time you play. You have to put your score in. So you establish a handicap that it helps for competitions or, more importantly, gambling. And so if that's how you know whether a guy's a 5 handicap or a 20 handicap or a scratch golf or whatever it is. And Hugh Freeze, to his credit, is putting in every score. Apparently, it seems like it. He is adhering to the rules of golf. And he posted 11 times in June. He played 11 rounds of golf. He's a very good golfer. He's a 7-6.
Who tracked this, by the way? What intrepid...
AL.com and crazy people at Auburn, I'm sure,
Yes.
were checking his GIN score. So he's a 7-6. He's been.
So can I Google a GIN score? I'm not.
Yeah, anybody can go on GIN. You can look up anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, you can look up anybody. So anybody puts it in. I can look up any golfer in the country. You can look up every coach in the country. You can look up anybody who plays. So you have an index, and so the reason this is a story is not that he's a 7-6, used to be a 4-6. He says he's not as good as he used to be. It's that they only have 7 verbal commits. And they've been losing a few pledges flipped, and Auburn's not killing it in recruiting, and Alabama is, and the fans are starting to say, get away from the country club, get off the Moore's Mill Club links there, and get yourself the office and get us some players. And Lane Kiffin has noticed about this. He's heard about this, and he
does spend time on social media. We know that.
Does. And Hugh recently posted a picture of him and some of his buddies at the Moore's Mill Club down there in Auburn. Fine course, I've heard. And they were holding a trophy they won, beating another club in a rider style match. And Hugh and Lane posted a picture above it. He retweeted and said, "Great job, coach. Game on fire." So we have the Ole Miss coach trolling the Auburn coach for playing too much golf, and this is the scandal of the week in the SEC.
God bless the SEC. He was pretty pointed, Dan, and I'm looking for the quotes. Hugh was about how NIL was working outside the cap. Did you see those comments?
He did.
It was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
He's blaming that, not his improved short game, for the reason he's losing all the players.
Yes. And then he subsequently, because it's July and there's nothing happening, a bunch of people, I think, are Paul Feinbaum, AJ McCarron, who obviously we know where his biases are going to lie, have like completely ripped Freeze for those comments. I do think we're entering, and this isn't a defense or a criticism of Freeze, I do think we're entering a point where the people who are really crushing it in recruiting right now are probably doing things outside whatever the rules are going to be perceived to be. And there's either people saying there's going to be no rules, or there's people who are going to test the rules and there's going to be market correction. And Freeze has established himself on there's going to be a market correction side. We will see. I mean, one thing we've learned about any type of enforcement in college athletics is to not bet on that enforcement working. There is well-earned skepticism there. And Brian Seeley, the new CEO of the College Sports Commission, has said, basically, please don't be cynical. Like, we need to figure this out for the sport to work, which I generally agree it needs to be figured out. The cynicism's hard to not have, right? Like, I could see you smirking across.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't be cynical. That's literally my thing.
Yeah, that would ruin your bit.
I don't know. How does that work? Yeah, I mean, obviously, okay, when they first came in with NIL, the schools that did well were the ones that completely pushed the envelope.
Correct.
I remember Tennessee was just like, well, we're just doing this.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was smart.
Yeah.
They'll come to us. They're not going to get stricter. They're going to get, so I would be super aggressive and be like, what is this? This is SEC football. I mean, this is like modern day. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And I don't know, push some envelopes. The thing is, you can do all of that from the 8th fairway. Like this, we can have both here, Hugh. We can have both. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing. It's just nothing funnier to me than Hugh Freeze or Auburn complaining about the rules not being followed by like Texas Tech and Houston and Syracuse. Like, we're in a weird spot.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's a weird. It's not
spot.
boring. It's not boring.
Not boring.
Not boring.
Anyway, Coach Freeze, I congratulate you on posting all of your scores. This is a very ethical golf thing. If you play a lot of golf and you gamble on golf, this is a very big deal. Well, that's the show. Reese will be back. We'll have SEC Media Days coming up. We have more Media Days coming up. Should be a fun summer of month. Talking season it is. And hopefully you have a much smoother host next time you listen to this podcast. Thank you for listening to the College Game Day podcast. Please download the podcast wherever you prefer your podcasts, or better yet, subscribe so you never miss a single episode.